Before we jump in, just a couple things for class. So a couple of props that you're going to want today. We're going to do a squat with a hold, the sort of railroad squat. So there's a couple things that you can use for that. I've got a super heavy kettlebell, which works pretty well. If you don't have one of those, you don't need one. You can also use the chair, like the leg of a couch or a doorway and opening. So basically what we'll be doing is squatting down, and you'll want something to hold on to so that you don't do that. So that's what you're looking for. When we get there, we'll need that. And then we'll need a couple of blocks or books, and then a strap or a towel or a belt, anything like that. So I'll give you all just a moment to find those things. And then for anyone who hasn't been in class last week, I started figuring out how to play music in class, which has been super exciting. So I'm gonna play some music for y'all. So that's coming over everybody's speakers. If you ever can't hear me or something's funny with the audio, just make really obnoxious like arm movements and I can fix whatever's going on. Cool. Nice. Does anybody have any questions before we get in? Jump in? All ready? Good. Charlotte, you good to go? All right, let's do this thing. So we'll start seated. We'll take a couple of slow breaths, get our breathing down, and then we'll stand up, warm up, and then we'll come back to the mat and dive into our slow, deep stretching, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more as we get there. Good, so we'll find a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe you lift your hips up a little bit. Maybe you're sitting up on a block or on your heels. Sit up nice and tall. And we'll just start here taking a deep breath in and a deep breath back out. Good, and then we're gonna go in for 4 and exhale for 8. So we'll inhale through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then open mouth, exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. One more time. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Nice job, you guys. So we'll use that slow breath in class. We'll talk a little more about it in just a few minutes. Let's come up, stand on up. We always start our class with moon squats. If you, like me, have hips that are a little bit cranky these days, grab a rolled up yoga mat, or you can roll up the edge of your own yoga mat you're standing on. And then put your heels up on the mat. So you got a little bit of height under the heels, and you kind of adjust and play with that as you're going through your squats. If you don't need it, don't worry about it. So on the inhale, take your arms up nice and high. And as you exhale, make fists with your hands, squat down low, cross one forearm over the other, tuck your chin to your chest, and then find your squat. Okay. And then press into the heels on the inhale, fan the fingertips out, right? Like jazz hands as you reach out. Head back a little bit. Good. So we'll do 3 sets of 5. So we're moving down into the squat, and then inhaling, pressing into the heels, squeezing the glutes, rising back up. Yeah. Feel free to move a little bit quicker or a little bit slower. Ooh. Trying to alternate which forearm is on top. If you forget, no big deal. Just do your best there. Good. Jason's usually my counter, so hopefully I'm not too far off. I think we got one more in this set. You guys can feel free to call my bluff. One more time, we'll press into the heels, squeeze on up, feel a little bit of a back bend. Good. And then on your exhale, we're coming down to a squat. This time as you come down, pause, put your hands on the floor, and then just shake your head out Sort of like you're shaking your head no. Good. And then check in real quick with your hips and your knees and your ankles. If it feels like you want to bring your feet a little farther apart, do it. If you don't, don't. When you're ready, press into the heels, come all the way back up. Good, we'll take another set of 5 here. So chest up. So we're doing moon squats here because it warms up all the major joints in the body. It's also a super good stretch. Squats are challenging for most people because we need them. So really good to get into those muscles. In fact, today we'll do extra squats because we're gonna hold a squat in a little bit. We'll really dive into those hamstrings and adductors. Good, you guys, 2 more here, squatting down, chin to chest, find a little rolling forward action through the upper body as you're down in your squat. And then as you come back up, maybe a bit of a back bend. That might be increasing as you go through. Good, let's do 1 more, then again we'll pause at the bottom after this next one. Big reach up and around. Good, and then squat back down. Nice, we'll plant the hands on the floor again, shake the head up. Good. All right, 1 more set, everybody. Press into the heels, squeeze the glutes. Woo, big reach out and around, good. Looking for big full range of motion for the shoulders. So as far as you can get the arms out as possible. So think about that as you come back up here. Chest opens, shoulder blades maybe squeeze a little bit together, hands come up high, and then exhale, making those fists, letting the shoulder blades kind of round forward as you get to the bottom of the squat. Good, inhale to reach up and around, big stretch through the chest. Good, sink back down. That's it. We got 2 more, inhale, reach up. Good. Exhale, squat back down. That's it, you guys. Hopefully it's feeling a little bit easier than the first time. 1 more time, inhale, reach up. And then exhale, squat back down. Good, pausing at the bottom 1 more time. Hands to the floor. Shake the head out. Awesome. We'll actually start our long holds today in a squat. So if you're good where you are, you can stay. I'm gonna scooch a little bit closer to you guys. So we'll be on the floor for all the rest of the practice today. So if you need to adjust your camera at all, now's the time for that. If you liked your heels on something, like I'm gonna bring this rolled up mat with me. Feel free to lift your heels up. You got a fancy wedge, you can use a wedge, no pillow, edges of blocks, all kinds of things. Just get crafty with whatever you got around you. So we'll take the feet pretty wide, just like we had as we were doing our moon squats, except just a little bit more narrow. So not quite to the edges of the mat. Good, and then a railroad squat is where you have the edges of your feet parallel. So for most people, that looks like you're doing just a slight pigeon toe, so the toes are just a little bit in. If you deal with sciatica pain at all, have your toes turn a little bit out. And when you're feeling like you're in the right spot, we'll squat on down. And then this is where you're gonna wanna have that weight. So I've got my kettlebell in front of me that I'm just kind of not holding on to a whole lot. It just kind of helps to keep a little bit of the weight going forward so I don't land on my butt. Good. So this is the long hold portion of class. So we'll be holding poses now. 3 to 5 minutes is what we've got on the docket for today. Sometimes we do 2 minutes, kind of depending on what we're doing. So what you want to do here is rest back into your slow breathing. So then we started in class tonight. Go back in through the nose for 4. Open mouth exhaling for 8. Okay, I'm gonna give you dings on my bowl here so you know for every minute that passes, you know where you're at. Just kind of helps keep the nervous system in check so you're not constantly wondering how much time is left. That's helpful. Good, so we're moving back into that slow breathing. And then we're also noticing areas where you might hold tension in your body. So for most people, there's a neck and shoulder element, right? So you might take just a little bit of movement, maybe shaking the head around or finding some circles or ear to shoulder, anything like that. Oh, Marlo, I got you. I'll give you a recommendation in just a second. Good. So when you're breathing, finding a little bit of movement for the head and the neck, and then kind of working your way through your body for the rest of the places where you hold tension. Marlo, so I saw that Marlo is not into squats today. So let's have you go into a child's pose. Is that something you can do? Can you do knees open, toes touch, arms reach out in front of you? I'm gonna take no answer as a good answer. You let me know if there's something else you need, Marlo. Good, staying here in our squats, focusing on your slow breathing. And then also those places where you hold your tension. So the idea here is that we relax our bodies as much as we can. And finding that relaxation, physical relaxation, with the extra exhale, the long hold exhale, those two coupled together helps to calm our nervous system in a much more profound way than if we were to do any of those on our own or just kind of do stretching on our own without breathing. And that's the magic that helps you get deeper in the flexibility training than stretching alone. We're affecting the fascia. That's the kind of saran wrap around the connective tissues and muscles and blood vessels that we got going around our body. That holds everything together, but it also holds on to places where you've had trauma, physical or even emotional sometimes, that can stay there as well. And oftentimes those are the places where we'll feel tightness and kind of this feeling of stuck. So by affecting that area, we can gain extra flexibility throughout the body. That's the name of the game. Yeah, we got one more minute here, you guys. Y'all. So resting forward, hips back, chin towards the chest, and feeling that upper body rounding. And breathing in for 4. And exhaling for 8. That's it, last few moments here. Nice, well done everybody. Woo. So to get out, you can kind of rock forward onto hands and knees, or if it's easier for you, maybe you take your hands behind you and just kind of land on your butt because you're super close to the floor anyway. And then we'll all make our way onto our backsides, and we'll do a couple of windshield wipers here. So hands kind of behind the lower back, knees bent, and we'll just take the knees side to side a few times. So always take these counter poses between our poses to help bring a little bit of movement, motion. Sometimes we get into spaces where it sort of feels like we're restricting blood flow a little bit. So definitely to get some of that blood flow movement in between, it's good. Okay, so let's take the legs straight for a second. Bounce the knees a few times. Maybe turn the feet side to side. Yeah, perfect. All these counter poses remind me of things we do in gym class in grade school. That's what you're doing, then you're doing it right. All right, so our next pose is just a seated forward fold. So pretty simple, but we want to do a couple of things to set the body up for it. So you want a little bit of height under your hips. So again, a rolled up yoga mat, or blanket, pillow, anything with a little bit of density, just to get the hips lifted up slightly off the floor. And what you actually want to do is kind of be falling off the edge. So hips are lifted, but you're still tilted pretty far forward. Good. And then the other thing that's going to be helpful here is this is where you're going to want blocks or a blanket or pillow to give you a little bit of height over the legs. Good. So take legs out in front of you. Arms reach up high. We'll take a big breath in together. On the exhale, we'll lean forward. So your hands will land wherever they land. Unlike many other yoga classes, you're not trying to grab the toes and pull yourself forward. Instead, you're looking again for that relaxed position. So as you dive forward, you'll feel your hamstrings, so that's what you get. And then when you're at that spot, then you'll set up your upper body to be in that position. So I love blocks under elbows. You could also put blocks underneath the head. I just like to rest my weight on my elbows instead of my neck. Like that's a little bit kinder on my body. But you know, everybody's got what works for them. You can also block up underneath the chest and the belly. That's extra nice if you got pillows. So wherever you are, you want to support yourself in a way that feels really comfortable so that you can be here for a 5-minute hold, not suffering, right? Good. So really looking to get into the backs of the legs. You might feel this stretch as well, kind of making its way up the back or down the legs towards the calves. We call that upstream and downstream sensations. Totally normal. Let's talk a little bit about how intense we should be in the stretch. So this class is kind of similar to a yin class if you've ever taken one of those. But this is a major difference between a yin class. Usually in yin, we're going about 2 to 3 out of 10 for your level of intensity. In this practice, we want to go about a 7 while keeping your body as relaxed as possible. So resisting the urge to pull to get yourself deeper into a pose. Instead, we're using our body with gravity to get deeper. So here you're hinging more at the hips. Or maybe you're feeling yourself, depending on where you've propped up, right? If my blocks are under my elbows, every so often I'm pulling my blocks slightly forward and readjusting so that my torso lays even closer towards my thighs. Continuing with the slow, deep breathing, going in for 4. Exhaling for 8. And keeping calm even though we're finding challenge stretching through the body. So 7 out of 10 should feel definitely challenging, but it also should not feel like you're creating any kind of injury or like your legs are going to fall off your body or anything silly like that. But it should be challenging. And that's where, again, the breath really comes in. So using the breath in for 4. And the slow exhale back up through the mouth will help to make it feel a little bit easier. And for most people, hamstrings are one of those areas that tend to open up a little more quickly. So you might find yourself readjusting more than you would in a different posture, but that's okay. Keep moving around, resist the urge to move just to move, right? Or to like distract yourself from being in the pose. But it's okay to get deeper. Here's our last minute here. So let's really focus in on the breath. Maybe you'll feel upper body lift a little bit. on the inhale. Feel it fall on the exhale. That's it, you guys. Nice and slow. Begin to walk upper body back up. You're sitting partially on something. Let's kind of scooch forward and let that roll up behind you. Yeah, let's see those windshield wipers again. So bend the knees, hands behind you, feet to the floor. And then we'll take some side to side moves again. Perfect, so hopefully you're starting to feel a little bit more open through the back body, through your inner thighs. Our first two stretches. We'll move next to one of the more challenging stretches that we do. We're going to come into a blaster pose next. So this really gets to your hip flexors. So for blaster, you're going to want blocks again, or a stool or a chair, anything with a little bit of height. See, I'll show you with blocks today. I got all the props. So it's essentially a low lunge, right? So we'll take right leg forward and left leg back. Sometimes in movement classes, when we're doing this posture, we're really thinking about like getting low with the upper body. In this practice, you actually want to keep the shoulders as much over the hips as you can. So go ahead and walk your front foot a little bit forward and a little bit to the right. It's okay to maybe turn the toes slightly out here. Making sure that your knee feels, like it's in a pretty safe position. Yeah. And if you like, you can put hands up on blocks, maybe elbows on a chair or a stool that's nice and high. And then sinking the hips down. So here's a side view. So if you start here in a lunge, you want to drop the hips down as much as you can. So you're really pushing the hips towards the floor. Shoulders are staying up over the hips, because again, that's body weight times gravity and helping to get deeper into the pose. Yeah. So over time, this one can get a little bit intense. So continue to check in with that intensity level, looking for 7 out of 10. If you're feeling pretty open, maybe you're getting a little deeper. But sometimes what you'll have to do in your posture is back out a little bit. So just keep that in mind as well as we hold our poses. Sink right away into that slow breathing. Moving in for 4. And exhaling for 8. Moving in for 4. Exhaling for 8. And then just a quick reminder, if maybe it's your first time in class or it's your first time back in a while, just because we're holding poses for a certain time, if you ever need to come out, you're always welcome to come out. And I encourage you to push towards your, maybe not necessarily your maximum, but challenge yourself. But we all have different things going on with our bodies. So you take care of yourself and whatever that means for you. just take 4 minutes tonight in blasters. We're halfway there. It's helpful to find a little movement, the head and the neck, just to help keep your thoughts on something else. It's a great distraction tool. Remember to keep your slow breath moving, really focusing on the exhale. Hips can be a place that for most people are pretty tense and hold a lot of tension, right, kind of tight. So that might show up in finding challenges in your breathing. So keeping that breathing really slow, relaxed, and smooth can help you feel a little less of that sort of chaotic energy while you hold your pose. Okay, last minute on this side. Aiming to drop the hips towards the floor. Push the shoulders back on top of the hips. Here we go. Good job, everybody. We'll slowly shift the hips back over the knee. And then we'll take a little bit of movement here. So a couple of options. Coming down to a tabletop for cat-cow might feel nice. Coming down into a child's pose, just to help get a little bit of closing through the front body can be helpful. A downward facing dog, if you're feeling like a little bit of that energy, can be nice. Or maybe you just kind of straighten through the legs, circle the hips a few times. Any kind of movement here that sounds good for you. Ooh. Great work, everybody. We got one more side. Let's go for it. We'll take left leg forward, right leg back. So left leg steps forward, inches forward a bit. So a little bit forward and then a little bit up to the side. Maybe the toes slightly turn out. Good. If there's any props, right, that you wanted on that first side that you didn't have, take a moment to go grab that. Good, and let's sink right into your pose. Go right into the slow breathing. Noticing right away if your shoulders have pulled up to your ears and let them rest down a bit. Of course, we have to use some energy, right, to keep upper body lifted, but try to use as little as possible. So is there another spot where you're holding on to tension that you don't need to? If you're pointing the back toe really strongly, and let that back ankle relax. If you feel like you're holding a lot of intensity, energy in the core, you let your belly pooch out a little bit. Slow breathing in for 4. Exhaling for 8. there, you guys. What is your intensity level? Do you need to drop the hips a little more? Maybe walk the front foot slightly forward to make space for that. Shift the shoulders over the hips. Remember, maybe you're in too deep. You need to back up just a little bit. If you find it hard to keep your breath slow and even, that exaggerated exhale, that's a good indication you're a little too deep. Last minute, everybody. All right, nice and slow. Shift the hips back over the knee. Take it left leg down. Nice. And then any of those options that sounded good, maybe a child's pose, a down dog, maybe just simply tabletop, hip movement. And yeah, everyone's making it their own. That's the whole point. So for the next one, we'll need that strap or towel, even like a hand towel will work. And then we'll get into a seat. So I like to do this one sitting on my heels, right? You could also put a block or two under your butt. Just gonna have the legs down. You can try it in crisscross applesauce, but I think that's can be a little challenging to do that. So we're gonna take the strap into the right hand. And then you'll let the strap go behind your back. So you're gonna bend your elbow. So right elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling. And you let your hand fall down your back to however far you get it, right? Everyone's gonna be real different here. Left hand's gonna come behind your lower back and then work its way up the strap so it has something to hold on to. Good. So we're just gonna hold this one for 3 minutes. So if you know where you're going, come right into it. I'm gonna give you just a couple other alignment cues to watch out for. So with the bottom arm, what you wanna watch out is to not dip the shoulder way forward just to get the hand up high. So instead, try to roll the shoulder open. So you're getting a stretch through the pec, that's the top of the arm down in the biceps tendon there, which might mean your hand's a little bit lower than if you were to really crank the shoulder backwards. So we'll work on that. The other thing we can do here is keep pressing the elbow up towards the ceiling. So you might even use your head a little bit to kind of press into the bottom part of the arm as you keep pushing it up towards the ceiling. And there'll be a tendency to lean forward here. Try to resist that urge, right? It'll just lessen the intensity of the stretch. 1 minute already, you guys. Third of the way there. Good, so chest is lifting. Bottom arm is happy. Top elbows up towards the ceiling as much as you can get it. We're just focusing on breathing. Keeping the shoulders over the hips, breathing in for 4. Exhaling for 8. Good, keep going. That's it, we're on our last minute already, everybody. In this pose, we don't tend to see quite the amount of movement like we did in the hamstrings. But if you do feel like you're loosening up a little bit, feel free to adjust. Just keep rolling the left shoulder open, chest open, collarbones like wide and stretching. And then keep pushing the shoulders back over the hips. Nice, last few moments here. Good job. Gently let your arms down. We'll take a couple of big circles for the arms here. So you could go full arm circles. If that feels like a little too much, take your hands to your shoulders and you circle with the elbows instead. Okay, remember to go in both directions. Yeah, looking for that full range of motion. Maybe looking also for a couple of creaks or crunchies or whatever you got going on. Hopefully not too many pops or anything like that. Good, we'll give the arms a little shake out. And then we'll take it to the other side. Good, so left hand's at the strap this time. Elbow bends, hands kind of behind the lower part of the neck there. And then right hand comes around. Remember, we're opening up, rotating through the top part of the arm, getting into the chest and the pecs. Nice, and then just notice how you might feel different sensations on this side. Maybe your range of motion is different on this side. So just adjusting accordingly, making sure that you're still keeping your body safe, right? So just because you were in a different spot last time doesn't mean you got to be there on this side. So you're still looking for that 7 out of 10 intensity. Still kind of pointing the elbow up towards the ceiling, shoulders working their way over the hips. Externally rotating as much as you can through the right upper arm, getting into the pecs, the chest. And then breathing in for 4. Exhaling for 8. Good, in through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. Gaze stays neutral. Maybe the head kind of just gently puts a little pressure into the arm to help keep lifting it up. Now these are not so stable joints or shoulder joints, so don't be pushing anything too hard, right? Really look for that line between the challenge and going too far. We want to stay in the challenge side. Keep focusing on breathing. Good, last minute. Nice and slow. Take the arms down. Dropped my mallet there, so you're good. Just shake it out a little bit. Big circles. Be some medium circles. Ooh. That's it, you guys. Well done. Shake it, shake it, shake it. All right, we'll be setting up for banana pose next. I'm gonna actually show you guys, I'm gonna demo this one upside down. It's a little difficult to see camera angles. If you know where you're going, feel free to set yourself up. So banana pose looks sort of like a crescent moon shape. So the point that's gonna not move is your hips. So your hips will stay on the ground, arms will reach up high, and you'll walk your legs to the right and your arms to the right. So you might find that you want to cross one leg over the other, or maybe grab a wrist or grab onto elbows. All of that's great. So make your way onto your back. We'll walk everything to the right to start. So hips glue, and then feet walk to the right, arms walk to the right. And then here you might grab onto your wrist. So like I'm gonna grab my right wrist with my left hand. Maybe I'll cross my right ankle over the left leg to help it from kind of creeping backwards. So you're looking for a big side body stretch. You're gonna feel a lot of stretching. Kind of around the pelvis is usually where people feel that, maybe above or below, and then also up in the shoulder joint. Feel free to play around a bit with how your arms are. A little extra bend in the elbow makes it a little easier through the shoulder joint if you're feeling it a little too intensely. And let's really focus on breathing into the left side of the rib cage here. Big full breaths in through that side of the lung. And then exhaling back out for 8. Little shorter hold here, just about 3 minutes on each side. So doing your best to kind of settle into that space of relaxation right away. Noticing if there's places here where you're holding that attention. Right? Are you like pulling your core up and in? Are you pointing your toes any link to the ceiling, or maybe straight up in front of you, let your ankles relax. You might take the opportunity to scrunch the toes and fan them out a few times. I mean, who wears shoes these days? But if you have to wear shoes all day, you could think about how you can move through the feet and the balls of the feet a little bit. Breathing in for 4. Exhaling for 8. Filling up that left side of the rib cage. Exhaling it back out. Slowly walk your limbs back into the center. We'll take a moment here to hug your knees into your chest and just find a little bit of movement. So side to side, maybe circles. And then as you're ready, we'll just make our way to the other side. So we'll start arms overhead, legs way out in front of you. And then everything walks to the left this time. So shoulders will move, legs will move, but hips stay. Maybe crossing an ankle, grabbing a wrist or bending your elbows. Just noticing, do you feel different sensations in different spots on the side? And how full can you get that right side of your rib cage? How full can you fill that one up? Remembering, if you feel like you've opened up a bit, you can always scooch the foot just a little bit farther over, or scooch your shoulders just a little bit more. So looking for that 7 out of 10 intensity, while keeping your body just melting. So you guys, nice and slow, we'll walk legs and arms back to center again. Taking a moment to hug knees into your chest, or maybe your feet stay on the floor and you find windshield wipers. Again, if that feels, sometimes that's better for people. All right. We've made it to tantrum asana. So Charlotte, this is your first time. We throw a little tantrum before we meditate. So unlock your inner 6-year-old. Kick your legs up. We'll kick your arms in the air. You're gonna kick and flail and just straight up throw a tantrum. So if it's okay where you are, maybe you grunt or cry out a little bit, like tantrum wails. Keep going here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Woo! Let it go. We'll set up here for meditation. So take a moment to put on your socks, grab a blanket, get really cozy, and then we'll set up for a little relaxing meditation. So feel free to lay down or stay seated. We're just about ready. Nice. So tonight's meditation is called active rest. Most of the time, when we think about rest, we imagine taking a nap or having a bath. But actually, some of the most restorative things we can do are quite active. This is a super helpful thing to figure out for yourself. Rest for you may not just look like taking a nap. It could also look like hiking in nature or hanging out with an old friend. The reason these activities are restorative is that when we plunge our attention into, say, our workout routines or a friendly conversation, this means we're not thinking so much about our problems. Thinking about our problems is often a bigger drain than the drain of physical exercise or any of the other activities I mentioned. The more we're able to direct our full attention into an activity and away from our worries, the more refreshment we'll experience. Let's practice this now. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. As you're doing this, see if you can enjoy the experience of breathing. Breathing in oxygen, stretching your spine on the inhale, and then on the exhale, that's the relaxation. Settling your face and shoulders. Arriving a little more fully in the here and now. The restful activity that we're choosing to do here is to pay full attention to a single session, a single sensation. It could be the sensation of breathing, or maybe any feeling of life or tingling in your hands. You could also choose to zoom in on some sound around you. Whatever you choose to commit to, this will be your home base, and everything else will just be in the background. Try it for a bit. As we get settled, if your mind wanders, come back to your home base. Appreciating this opportunity to take a break, to do something simple. Keep going. How still can you get as you pay attention to your home base, converging all parts of your attention in the same direction? come and go. It's not a problem. It can be there in the background, along with any other feelings or sounds. Everything is welcome. In the foreground, there's just this simple devotion to your home base. Let's begin to finish here with a simple contemplation. Let go of your home base if you like, and take a moment to reflect on what restores you. What active things help you feel more centered and refreshed? Simple, restful things that help take your mind off your challenges. These activities are your medicines. They're rejuvenating because they help block the stressful thoughts and worries that otherwise drain your system. The more time we make for all of these restorative activities, the more we practice totally committing to them in the moment, the more rested we feel. And that means we'll be able to better handle the rest of our lives. And of course, meditation is a medicine too. Let's take another breath in. And as you exhale, begin to come back into your body, noticing the sounds around you, maybe the feeling of the air in your skin. And then start to bring a little movement into your body, wiggling toes and fingers, wrists and ankles. Taking your hands together at your heart. The light in me honors, bows, and surrenders to the light within each of you. Namaste.